Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel, welcome to another GT Sport Daily Race C race and strategy guide. It's week number 3, and for week 3 we are heading to the Ardennes Forest in Belgium for a Group 3 race around the Spa Francorchamps in the rain. So here is the detailed settings for that one. We've got 7 laps to get round. Sounds short, but it's a very long lap in these conditions. Tyre wear at times 5, fuel at times 2. We've got both the heavyweight and intermediate tyres available. There isn't any mandatory rules in terms of what tyres you have to use or pit stops or anything like that. BOP is on, damage is off, slipstream is real, and once again we've got a grid start with a false start check. Now, thanks to RA Shadow from the Race Asylum team, who was in my live stream last week, he was able to reveal to me that we will be using the 11 AM conditions, which is the heaviest wet conditions out of the 3 that are available in Gran Turismo Sport. So thank you to RA Shadow for allowing me to prepare for this video with that information. In terms of what cars you want to be using for this combo, you must use an MR car, but you mustn't use, you can use an FR car if you want, but you will be putting yourself at a huge disadvantage if you do. The MR cars operate in the wet conditions far more effectively due to that weight distribution on the engine. And yeah, we actually have a proper grid start this week as well, unlike whatever that was we had at the Nordschleife last week. All 20 cars will be starting on the start-finish straight, nice and close together. It's going to be great, chaotic, brilliant, absolutely superb. Another big advantage that the MR cars have got over the FR cars is the fact that they get off the line so much more effectively. For example, here in the Honda NSX, it's 8.8 seconds to the turn 1 braking point. Comparing that to a Subaru WRX, 9.6 seconds down to that turn 1 braking point. So 0.8 of a second, that's a huge advantage on top of the fact that the MR cars are just quicker in these conditions anyway. If you pick an FR car in this one, you're pretty much committing Gran Turismo suicide. So how does that launch look compared to the FR cars off the line? Here's our NSX down in P20 up against the AI cars. You can actually get the car off the line quite effectively, the AI, but doesn't matter, we actually passed 5 of them even on that short run down to turn number 1. So with all that said and done, let's move on to the race run. We're in the Honda NSX, we're starting here on pole position. We'll get the traction control at 1 to get the car off the line. We'll leave the traction control on for getting through La Source as well, just so we've got the traction out of the corner here, particularly with the cold tyres. Now, there's going to be a lot of carnage at the start, 20 cars rifling into turn number 1 there in close proximity in these conditions is going to be absolutely chaotic, but great at the same time. It's what we want, well certainly what I want anyway. We want the cars nice and close together. It's just going to be absolute carnage. If you manage to survive turn number 1 effectively, then there isn't any real strategy to speak of in this one. There is no mandatory tyres or pit stop. Make sure you're on the heavyweight tyres, that is definitely something you need to make sure. But my kind of 3-step strategy to having good results in this one is 1, pick an MR car, 2, make sure you're using the heavyweight tyres, and step 3, don't die. Now the first 2 steps of that strategy are fairly easy to complete. The third step of not dying, slightly more difficult because we're in the sort of heaviest rain conditions that are available in the game, and I don't think we've ever used them in Daily Race C, particularly at Spa. We may well have used them at the A1 ring in Austria. I don't think we've ever had a Daily Race C or any Daily Race where we've actually used these conditions. Probably the hardest challenge in the game. The cars are absolute nightmare to control. Every corner is a danger zone, particularly coming out of Stavolo 2, for example. This was the second time we managed to spin here. And also coming over the crest of hill right here, that was a nice wee transition at Radillion. Very easy again to spin the car there as the car goes light if you're too heavy on the throttle. So yeah, very, very challenging. Actually took me nearly, I think I had to restart the race run 6 times before I eventually managed to get 7 relatively clean laps in. One small bit of advice I might give you as well, if you're having a huge amount of trouble, is do not be scared to use traction control. It will make your life so much easier. I actually sometimes switch it on for coming into the bus stop and then using it at La Source. Just gives you that little safety net, and in terms of any comparison I've done versus traction control on and traction control off at these corners, not a huge amount of difference. It's slightly quicker with traction control off, but then you've not got that safety net. So yeah, don't be afraid to use traction control. That's what it's there for if you're having trouble. So moving forward here to lap number 7. As I said, we had quite a lot of trouble managing to get a relatively clean run in, but we have eventually managed to put 7 half decent laps together here, not managed to spin off. Plenty of moments. It's very hard to get a really clean lap in at this combination with these weather conditions, so you will have a lot of moments, probably several per lap. It's just how skittish the conditions are in these cars, but incredibly challenging. And I know there's some people who are not a fan of the wet conditions in GT Sport, but yeah, I actually quite enjoy them, if I'm being honest with you. I like that challenge, and I'm quite looking forward to this race. So the only real notable thing to kind of come out of the race run is the fact that you will actually suffer a little bit of tyre wear on those rear tyres in the MR cars. Obviously you're coming out a lot of corners with the wheels spinning up, so naturally that is going to create a little bit of tyre wear. You can see just how much we have burned the tyres in the bottom left hand corner there. Nothing major, nothing too much to worry about, but yeah, just something to remember. If you're creating a lot of wheel spin, good chance you're going to overheat the tyres, and it's going to make these cars even more tricky to drive than what they already are in these conditions. A 19.5-minute race should be noted as well, much better than that 14.5-minute shenanigans we've just been doing at the Nordschleife. So yeah, let's move on to that part of the video where we just reiterate everything we've kind of talked about already. There's not really a whole lot to go through here. We've got that grid start with the false start checks, so simple strategy: make sure you're in an MR car. They absolutely destroy the FR cars around here. I think the only FR car that's slightly competitive is the Corvette, but even then I think you're probably giving up a second to pretty much any of the MR cars. I think the MR cars that will be strong, or the strongest, will be the Honda NSX that we're in here. The Audi R8 should be very good as well. I think the Renault RS01 will be pretty decent, and maybe kind of some more like dark horses, if you like, the Ford GT and the Citroen. Also, let's not forget the Porsche as well. The Porsche should be pretty good, but I think the Porsche bogs down on the line compared to most of the other MR cars out there, so that's definitely something to take into consideration. So yeah, as I said, in terms of strategy, pick an MR car, make sure you've got the heavy wet tyres on, make sure you don't end up going out with the wrong tyres, or you'll be going 2 seconds a lap slower. The intermediates are around about 2 seconds a lap slower in these conditions by memory. And yeah, don't die. As I said earlier though, easier said than done. Extremely challenging conditions, extremely challenging to get a clean race run in around here. And yeah, let's not forget the start as well. Surviving the start will be, well, it'll be interesting to see what kind of strike rate people have got of surviving the start versus not surviving the start, particularly if you're in the mid pack or towards the rear. But all in all, should add up to some quite interesting racing, let's be honest. I've always said I think there's a reason they don't give us grid starts more often, is because there was just too much carnage. Let's see if this week kind of proves that point, if you like. So let's then move on to finish the video with a bit of a lap guide in the Honda NSX around Spa Francorchamps. Coming out of the last corner here onto the start finish straight, we've got traction control on here all the way down to La Source. You're looking to the wall, the white wall on the left hand side. Just as that wall ends, that's a fairly decent braking point for turn number 1 to get the car into the apex. Get the car straightened up as quickly as you can before you fully commit on the throttle. And now we're on the run down towards Eau Rouge and Radillion. Now we turn traction control off here because I don't think we really need it for the rest of the lap. So just get the car slowed down as you go into the first left hander there. Make sure you're completely off the brake as you kind of roll it through the right hander and up the hill. And just be careful on the crest of the hill as well. It's very easy to be on the throttle there. The car goes light and to spin out. So down towards Les Combes, you're looking for about the 150 metre board. That's kind of a good braking point for the chicane here at Les Combes. And then you're just kind of nursing the car through here. Be very careful on the throttle, just looking for the best line, the line of least resistance, and carrying as much momentum as you can. Down to Rivage, I used a 100 metre board on the left hand side there. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't even know that board was there up until I started racing in the wet conditions, but it turns out to be a very nice braking board for the wet conditions here. Into No Name Corner, or Jackie Ink's Corner I believe. It's now got a name. I'm you're just kind of rolling the car through there. Be careful on the exit, it's got a bit of a sketchy curb on the exit. Into pull on, the start of the curb seems to be quite a nice braking zone. I go down into third gear, then quite an early upshift into fourth, as the car will wrestle with you all the way through here. You'll still have a little bit of wheel spin, really struggle to get on the power as you come out of pull on. Into campus, I think it's around about the 100 metre board, just after the 100 metre board I use for campus. Similar corner to Lake Holme, just kind of guide the car through with as least resistance as you can. Be careful on the exit here, again that curb will try and suck you out, and if you hit that in the wet conditions you are pretty much guaranteed to spin. Into Stavolo 2, quite an easy corner even in these conditions, but Stavolo 1, Stavolo 2 on the other hand, a very tricky corner. Invites you to get on the throttle nice and early, but for whatever reason it caught me out several times over the course of making this video, and yeah, we spun out there a couple of times, so do be careful of that one. And then down towards Blanchimont, which is full throttle in the dry, is definitely not full throttle in the wet. You'll scrub off a lot of speed. Because you scrub off so much speed, you can actually brake a little bit later into the chicane, even in these wet conditions, than you might expect. So I use the Spa Francorchamps banner above our head there as my braking point for the chicane. I put traction control on as we negotiate the bus stop, and yeah, that just lets me get the power down a little bit more. Not necessarily better, but with a little bit of a comfort blanket if you like. But that's a lap of Spa Francorchamps in the NSX from Group 3. Hopefully that's been helpful in some way, shape or form. Hopefully the guide as a whole has been helpful in some way, shape or form. I'm quite looking forward to this one, I have to say. Kind of tempted to maybe jump on around about 11 o'clock on Monday morning. Maybe do some races on the Australian account. Do join me for that if you can, although I'm not 100% guaranteed that's what I'm going to do, but we'll certainly be putting out some race review videos of this one over the course of the week, and definitely getting some live streaming as well. I know it's not going to be a popular race, I know there's people out there that don't like it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is this a combination you're interested in? Certainly think it's one of the most challenging things you'll probably face in this game, so yeah, let me know what you think. If you've liked the video, do hit the like button and do hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. Helps the channel out massively apparently. And all that's left to say is thank you very much for watching and goodbye.